all different types of town halls.
Yeah, I was trying to get the open office hour. I was really hoping to talk to you because I enjoy what you have to say. But unfortunately, like I work and you do it during work hours. So I was kind of hoping that maybe you would be open to a town hall within, I don't know, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock range. So people can show up, get off work.
Have you gone on some of our, okay, so some of the earlier ones we did do. We have to obviously do a wide range of times because there are people that can't. Have you done any of the teletown halls also?
I've done some of the teletown halls, and I join the ones that Mike Lee does as well. Okay. And so I like to at least be updated that, and I appreciate at least something.
We're going to continue to do them. We continue to do them at different times, and one of the things that really works for us is when we do the open office hours, especially in the different counties, then at least the people that live in those counties can get access and get time.
Can we hope for a Festivus miracle and get one before Christmas?
Before Christmas?
No. Seinfeld?
Yeah, we'll continue to do them. We'll do it. We'll make sure.
But later, so the working class, the working class people are your hope. Like the working class people are the ones who you're hoping. So I'm hoping we can get more working class people that show up and be like, yeah, woo.
The last open office hours, that was the first time we did it in the open office hours. That was the first time.
Sure, awesome.
So
well,
I'll continue to do it.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it.
We'll continue to do that.
Awesome.
We want it to be nice and civil and have good dialogue.
No, I appreciate that, and it's nice. I even like panel discussions, so you can kind of unpack an idea, you know. And so that would be awesome.
Yeah, because I get a lot of my ideas from people.
Well, and it's kind of a Socratic dialogue. You allow, and it's nice to have maybe a moderator, and I'm really looking forward to you licking Ben McAdams. Because I think Ben's like boring. I feel like Ben McAdams is the typical Democratic pick. Like how do we lose an election? We've got an obviously vibrant rising star in the Republican Party, and how do we get somebody who utterly fails to measure up? And it's really interesting to me. And so you got a lot going for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank
you.
You know what?
Hey, so this is Josh Cameron with Progressive Rampage. I'm here with a gentleman with CD4 Coalition. We're at a rally here for Mia Love and Mitt Romney. And he came over, he saw me, we're acquainted online on Facebook. And I think we've met each other at other events as far as through like voting and stuff and caucus events. Nice. So he knows my folks. But he was telling me he used to be a former Republican and actually had a selfie that he was quite proud of with himself and Ted Cruz. Kind of hoping he can kind of unpack a little bit of what motivated him to, one, be a Republican in the first place and kind of what disenchanted him. Chris, take it away.
Well, started following politics September 11th, 2001. I remember that day vividly. I was sweeping the parking lot at a Wendy's that morning. Listening to my headphones, got the news. That afternoon when I got off, went to my mom's house, watched what had happened. Got swept up in all of the patriotism. George Bush was president at the time. Patriot Act, go get the guys, shock and awe, all that. Also, for me, for part of the change, that's how I was. I was raised somewhat conservative. And so it was Republican. I grew up in California, but we moved to Utah when I was a young teenager. But for me, the change happened over the course of a couple of years, and it started a couple of years ago. And a bit of it started with religion, wanting to be a better member of my church and doing research, finding out what really was. I wanted a stronger testimony. I wanted to be able to defend against arguments, and so you do opposition research, and they convinced me.
And the opposition research just made too much sense, huh?
Yeah, well, it just made sense. I'm a big fan of science. I'm a huge fan of Carl Sagan, Cosmos, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and so I've got this love for the astronomy, stars, evidence, stuff that can be proven, that can be shown, evolution, evolutionary biology, the fossil record geology. Everything points to one thing and backs it up. Whereas religion says, oh, no, you have to have faith. And no, faith is a dishonest thing. And so having questioned all of that and realizing a lot of my political beliefs were religious-based, and I understand there's religious people on both sides of the aisle, this is just me, I decided to unpack my political beliefs. Take them one by one. Okay, I believe this, but this political ideology because of this religious background. But if I take out that religious background, can I still support this? And a lot of it fell apart. Then you see a lot of the science denial, the denial of climate change, the way they treat the environment.
Well, one of the amazing things about science is that science acts to prove itself wrong,
yes,
while faith acts to prove itself right. And so I'd rather have answers that can't, or I'd rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned. Because I need to strive.
I said that backwards.
No, I'd rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned.
Yeah.
And so I also love Neil deGrasse Tyson and Carl Sagan for the same reason. I love that Neil doesn't really like the identity. Also, he acts in very atheist ways, but he doesn't necessarily take the demeanor of atheism or take the moniker rather.
Yeah, same with Carl. They didn't want to be defined by that term. They just want to put it out there. They want science to be apolitical, and that's something that I believe in. I believe in what can be shown to me. And so, I turned liberal. I took political tests for years and years. I used to be on the right. I started drifting to the left, and now I'm left of center.
So would you say that it was your faith, your lack of faith, or as REM would say, losing my religion is what drug you to the left, or were you actually dragging yourself to the left first, and that's maybe what started unraveling that ball of yarn?
I think questioning the religion and realizing that I'm not afraid to question my own beliefs allowed me to question my politics and my reasoning for my politics. And when I realized that they just didn't hold up anymore, I look at the way the gay community is treated. My own father was gay. He died of AIDS in the early 90s. So that's something that, when I went to Pride Fest this year, I went for my dad. It's the first time I went, and I was there for him because he couldn't go. I see the way that NFL players are demonized by the right for practicing their freedom of speech. It's a right that they have. They're protesting not the flag, not the anthem. They're protesting the civil rights that are being violated against a certain group of people.
So I love that idea, and I think that you're right. And lately I've been really inspired by Henry Rollins, and just listen to some of the stuff that Henry Rollins does. And this guy, so he was, if you don't know who Henry Rollins is, he was the lead singer for Black Flag for a while. Does a lot of punk, and he just talks about how he hits the ground running. He's a guy who came from minimum wage. He's just a working class dude who basically understands that he doesn't have the aptitude to just be awesome. So that means that he has to work 2 times harder, which means that he needs to expect that just to be on his feet all the time. And I love his work ethic and his motivations. And I just kind of lost my train of thought. What did you say just last? I'm sorry.
I was talking about the NFL, the players, the civil rights that they're fighting for. They're making their stand, so to say, for those that can't anymore.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And so that realigned my train of thought. So I was at work, and I work with an awesome industrial hygienist. I love this guy to death. He's very right-wing, and I brought up Colin Kaepernick because I like to push boundaries, and it's hard for me not to. And so he immediately turned to me and said that how much of it was a disrespect of veterans and the flag. And I said, that's really funny because I think in this car right now, I'm the only veteran, and yet I don't feel disrespected. I feel that the freedom of speech is far more important and the First Amendment is far more important than the Second, which is why they put it first. And while the Second Amendment, I think, is an important amendment that we need to discuss, I would also like to, full disclosure, like to put some regulations on guns, but we need to be able to have a marketplace of ideas, and any libertarian, I think, can jump on board with that idea.
I think people that like to talk about the Second Amendment should read up on Shays' Rebellion and what the Second Amendment was originally written for, because if it had been about Lexington and Concord, then it would have been in the Articles of Confederation, but it wasn't. And again, with Kaepernick and the veterans, he spoke with veterans before he started doing this. He wanted to make sure he wasn't offending them. Well, I've read that before,
Yeah, so he was actually, the guy was a former Special Forces soldier who actually, I think, was on maybe second string for Seattle Seahawks. I want to say he's about a 40-year-old guy, and he was the one. He was a white dude, Special Forces, said that praying is actually a respectful thing. If you thought about praying instead of sitting down, or kneeling, because kneeling is kind of a sign of prayer. And if you thought about kneeling instead of sitting down, he said that's a great idea. So he tried to be as respectful to a veteran, and a Special Forces veteran that typically lives about 6 months out of 12 months in a foreign country, and that's a hard reality to live. So he respected he respected a real guy, not a bunch of losers who were looking for stolen valor. And it's fascinating to hear that your scientific kind of your scientific literacy, as well as just your honesty to yourself, to be able to question your ideas. Why is it that I have the best idea? Maybe I don't. Perhaps I should unpack that, and perhaps I should be open to criticism. I may not like it. I think Winston Churchill was quoted saying something along the lines of, criticism is a necessary thing. It serves the same function as pain in the body. It calls attention to basically something irregular or something bad that you need to fix. And so I like that idea. And we're not always going to agree with it, whether that be correct criticism or incorrect. But we should be open to it. And yeah, man, hey, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate the interview, man, and thanks for coming over and saying hi. Go ahead and are you also part of the like a precinct chair, part of the local government? So go ahead and give a shout out to any sort, or plug your offices, as well as anyone who wants to follow you on Twitter if they happen to hear this interview, so that way they can figure out who Chris Bell really is.
All right, well, it's good seeing you again, Josh. So yeah, like I said, Chris Bell, I'm on Facebook under that name. You can find me at Utah's CD4 Coalition on Facebook. We have a Twitter page as well. My own personal Twitter is at ChrisBell2016. I am precinct chair for West Valley City 71. So House District 34, Karen Kwan, Senate District 5, Karen Main, CD4, Ben McAdams.
Interesting, because I'm the precinct chair for 72, so we're precinct neighbors. What? Fist bump, boom. All right, man, well, it's been a pleasure. Well, sweet, dude.